Pokemon TCG Live is receiving a major update. Not only is rotation happening right now, we're also getting 8 new starter decks as well as 2 new decks in the Battle Pass. Let's take a moment to quickly review all of them. I'm Jeff from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the new decks that are being added to Pokemon TCG Live. The 8 decks we are getting are Arcanine EX, Giratina VSTAR, Koraidon EX, Lunatone Soulrock, Origin Forme Dialga VSTAR, Palkia VSTAR, Regieleki VMAX, and Serperior VSTAR. These are, they didn't quite build them the way I would have thought they would in certain cases. There are definitely some that are better than others. And I think they all need at least a little bit of upgrading, and some of them more than that. But let's talk about the decks as they're currently constructed, and we'll work our way down the list, and then we'll end with the Battle Pass ones. Starting things off with Arcanine EX. This is a new card from Scarlet and Violet. It's got the move Bright Flame. This is the core of the deck. You want to hit for 250 damage while discarding 2 energy. The hook in the deck list, though, in order to make that facilitating the energy a little easier, is that it's got 2 copies of Pokemon Go Charizard. And in case you're not sure what that is, it's the Charizard with the Burn Brightly ability, where each basic fire energy attached to your Pokemon provides double energy. You can't apply more than 1 Burn Brightly ability at a time. So you're really hoping to set this up so that it lowers the attack cost on Arcanine EX and lowers the discard cost as well. This is going to be a little bit tricky. Like, yes, Charizard does lower the cost. I'm just really concerned with this build because this is a stage 2, and if you're not able to get this set up by the second turn, you're kind of screwed. It does also come with Radiant Charizard, and Radiant Charizard is an amazing card. I do have questions about this build, though. I wonder if there are better ways of building Arcanine EX. Maybe it's something I'll scratch my head on and see if I can whip up something, or I'm sure the community would. But the fact that no one's playing this in Japan makes me have my doubts that this is competitive in any way, shape, or form. Easily the star of the set, Giratina VSTAR. This is an amazing deck where the general strategy is you're using Comphase and Colress Experiments to throw cards into the Lost Zone. In the early game, you're using Cramorant to attack. In the mid game, you've got Giratina VSTAR, which does a bajillion damage, including a VSTAR power that lets you one hit, like instant KO anything in the active, and then you finish things off with Sableye. And they have done a really good job with this deck list with the 2/2 Giratina, 4 Comfey, 2 Sableye, 2 Cram, a Luminion. You got the Snorlax in there, which is not a bad inclusion as well. And then most of the other staples are in here as well, from 4 copies of Colress to 4. I don't know if you necessarily need 4 Nest Ball, but it's nice that you have them because you're going to need 4 Nest Ball in pretty much every other deck. You've got your 4 Mirage Gates, even some Cross Switchers and Switch Cards, Escape Ropes, and the new Beach Court Stadium as well, which lowers retreat costs on basic Pokemon. This is an incredibly strong deck out of the box, and with a couple of tweaks, this is going to be the killer deck that is dominating Japan right now. And heck, you can take the Giratinas out, put in a couple of different cards, and make this the single prize variant as well. I think this deck is going to be incredibly popular on the ladder because this is the strongest one that is in the set, and with a couple of tweaks, this is arguably the strongest deck in the game right now. While Miraidon is getting all of the attention, Koraidon EX is here. The thing with Koraidon EX, the whole core of the deck is built on Koraidon EX's Dino Cry ability, where once during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energy cards from your discard pile to your basic fighting Pokemon in any way you like. If you use this ability, your turn ends. And you do get some attackers to charge up, including Great Tusk EX, which can do 250 damage, which is ridiculous. And there's also some single prize Lucario cards in there as well. You even get the Revavroom card, which helps you get some energy into the discard pile while also helping you draw cards. However, this ability, Dino Cry, really only works well on the first turn, and in that first turn you have to get 2 energy into the discard pile, get Koraidon set up, get whatever Pokemon you want to get charged up set up so that you can then attach that energy, and that's how you make it work. It feels like a lot to do on the first turn with a high chance that it's not going to work out. So I would not hold my breath, like hold out hope that this is going to be a good deck. I think this is shaky at best. Soulrock Lunatone was a wildly popular deck on PTCGO. It was a very strong single prize deck for its time. However, post-rotation, this deck is not as strong as it used to be. This gets hurt really badly by the loss of Scoop Up Net. And because of that, I don't see this deck being particularly strong. However, you do get Mewtwo V-Star with this, and I actually like... I don't like Mewtwo V-Star within the context of Soulrock Lunatone, and just to quickly summarize, the whole gist of the deck is that you discard as much energy. Well, you discard a bunch of energy into the discard pile, and then you use Soulrock's Sun Energy ability to attach it to Lunatone, at which point Lunatone can then attack. Having the Scoop Up Nets let you reset Soulrock so you can do that ability again and again. That's not there anymore, which definitely caps how hard Lunatone can hit. Having Mewtwo V-Star in there with its Psy-Purge attack, which does 90 damage, and you can discard energy and then do upwards of 270 damage because you can discard up to 3. I don't actually like Mewtwo V-Star within the context of Soulrock Lunatone, but you can totally drop Mewtwo V-Star into the Shadow Rider Calyrex deck. Now, if you started playing the game before rotation, you might already have 2/2 Shadow Rider. If not, that's okay. You can definitely use your gems to get the League Battle deck in the in-game store and then drop 2/2 Mewtwo V-Star in there, and that's pretty cool. Origin Forme Dialga V-Star is a personal favorite of mine. I actually recently just bought a bunch of Dialga V-Star cards to build a Dialga deck IRL. However, this is not the deck that I have gotten comfortable with Celebrations Mew and the Metal Saucers, because the Metal Saucers have unfortunately rotated out, and instead we get a build that is based around using Magnezone to accelerate energy. Now, this is a little bit of a crapshoot because Magnezone's ability makes you draw like the top 5 cards or something like that, and then you attach any energy from there. And it's also a stage 2 as well with Bibro drawing cards. This is not going to be as reliable as the Celebrations Mew with the Metal Saucer build, and even that was high rolly at the best of times. However, I do have faith because post-rotation down the road, we've seen a little bit from Japan where there is an electric Magnemite coming, at which point you can then use Koraidon to then set up the Magnemites to make it easier to go into the Magnezone and potentially pop off from there. So Dialga V-Star as a starter deck is probably shaky at best, but its future is potentially brighter once Paldea Evolved comes out, which I'm pretty sure this Magnemite is in. Palkia V-Star is a really weird inclusion here. Now, in the last Battle Pass, Palkia V-Star was one of the level 25 decks, and that was actually a pretty decent build of Palkia V-Star. However, this one is really odd. You are getting 2/2 Palkia V-Star, but they also jammed in all of the cards for the Swim Freely deck with like the Dugong and the Seal and the Finneon, and I think this list is it's a mess, quite frankly. These are like two kind of different deck concepts mashed together, and I think Palkia in this particular form is not going to work particularly well. That being said, Palkia can be good in post-rotation decks. Here's an example of a Palkia Bibarel build featuring Ice Rider Calyrex. If you were playing pre-rotation, you probably have the Ice Riders in your inventory. And that's pretty sick because you can pull together a lot of these cards from some of the other pre-made decks. You've probably got some Bibros kicking around and the 2/2 Palkia right here. And then you add a couple of other cards and you can build something like this. That'll be a lot better post-rotation than whatever this Palkia Swim Freely monstrosity is. Regieleki VMAX is not a deck you want to play. It's a bit of a mess, and really its purpose here is as a source of spare parts for a proper Miraidon EX deck. Regieleki VMAX is not a great attacker with only doing 220 damage, and you can attack on the next turn, but it has the ability Transistor, which boosts your basic lightning type Pokemon's attacks by 30. And within the context of a fully built out Miraidon deck, this is just one example here. You could boost stuff like a Raichu, like a Raikou, like Luxray, and a fully built out version of the Miraidon deck seems to be one of the strongest new archetypes in the game. You're probably not going to want to mess with this deck at all. Really, you're using the spare parts in this, like the 2/2 Regieleki and the Raikou, and maybe even the Evolving Skies Regieleki, and putting that into the template of the Miraidon EX deck and kicking butt from there. Serperior VSTAR is not particularly strong. This is a card that we've covered in the past that does mediocre damage, and its whole gimmick is that you attack with Serperior, you try and tank a hit with the Kricketune, which gives you extra HP, and then you move the damage with the Altaria that moves damage from a damaged Pokemon and moves it to your opponent's Pokemon. It's clunky at best. There is potentially hope for this card once the Fortress EX comes out and you can accelerate a bunch of energy and then make this Starwinder V-Star power a little more powerful. However, I would not hold my breath on Serperior V-Star being particularly strong. This might be the worst one of the bunch here. Before we look at the Battle Pass decks, let's just quickly summarize my thoughts on these. The Arcanine EX deck is probably not going to be good. I haven't played it yet, but relying on the Charizard seems to be sus at best. Giratina VSTAR is really awesome, and not only is it a great Giratina VSTAR deck, you can take out the Giratinas and make this an awesome single prize Lost Box deck. If you are looking to maximize your credits and upgrade one of these free decks, Giratina VSTAR is the clear way to go. Koraidon EX is not particularly strong, but it's here. And if you really want to hit Miraidon for weakness and it's going to be a really popular deck, maybe Koraidon is the deck for you. Lunatone Soulrock is not the deck that it used to be. However, the 2/2 Mewtwo VSTAR is a great addition to a Shadow Rider Calyrex deck. Dialga VSTAR is a little shaky in its build here in the game. However, there is potentially light at the end of the tunnel, with Paldea Evolved introducing a new Magnemite, which makes it pair well with the new Miraidon EX. Palkia VSTAR is very shaky in the build that is here. However, if you've got spare parts from the previous rotation with the free Ice Rider Calyrex deck, or the previous Palkia VSTAR deck from the Battle Pass, you can whip this into shape. Regieleki VMAX is just spare parts for the Battle Pass Miraidon EX deck, and Serperior VSTAR is probably just not good. As for the Battle Pass decks, at the time of this recording, I can't show you the exact contents of the decks. All we have is the screenshot from the iTunes store, where on the basic Battle Pass, you can't really see it here, but this is the Miraidon EX deck, and then the Premium Battle Pass is Gardevoir EX. I think that it is definitely recommended that you use your gems to unlock the Premium Battle Pass to get the second deck, to get all the additional rewards. And not only are you getting Gardevoir EX and presumably a bunch of cards related to that, you're also getting some Shadow Rider cards in here, not only to complete your Shadow Rider set, but also Gardevoir pairs well with Shadow Rider. Once again, we can look at an example of a completed Koraidon EX build. Not all of them have Raichu or Flying Pikachu in them, but just wanted to show the general idea of Koraidon being able to set up a bunch of Pokemon, including your Regielekis and your Flaffy for energy acceleration. And then on turn 2, you evolve into Regieleki VMAX to boost the attacks of your basic lightning Pokemon, such as Raichu, such as Koraidon, and Raikou, and even Luxray and as well. So lots going on here, and of course you're also getting you're going to be getting energy accelerators here as well, which is amazing. And here's an example of a built-out Gardevoir EX deck. I should mention the list that I'm showing here, these aren't necessarily they're probably not the exact contents of what's going to be in the Battle Pass, but the general idea, you're going to be getting some combination of like Ralt, Kirlia, Gardevoir EX, and this is a deck that does have a lot of potential. I've heard some things, some people not so high on it as others, but Gardevoir has an insane ability that lets it charge energy from the discard pile to any of your psychic Pokemon. That they do have to take damage in the process, but the amount of damage you can do in return is absolutely nuts. So I would recommend grabbing the premium battle pass. You can get both the Koraidon deck and the Gardevoir deck. The new era of Scarlet and Violet is here, and we've got a lot of new decks to work with. As much as I have issue with PTCG Live for a whole bunch of reasons, I applaud the game for having these pre-made decks, because they're a lot better than anything that PTCGO gave out to players. And yes, all of these are going to need some work to fully upgrade, but this gets players so much closer to playing the real game instead of having to unlock theme decks and then go through the whole rigmarole of trading and all sorts of other nonsense. And this is just like a much closer way of getting players into playing proper standard, which is like the preferred way I like to play. So there we go. There's a quick look at the decks. I hope to cover many, if not all of these in more detail. I have actually covered a bunch of these decks in various forms. I'll put the videos to them in the description of this video. Granted, all of the videos will be pre-rotation, but just to give you an idea of how these decks could work, and I know certain decks are going to work way different than others, but just as a reference to see how these cards work. All right, I got to get going to bed. I'm recording this the night before, and it's past my bedtime, so I'm going to go and catch some sleep. Thank you so much for watching. Before I go, some quick plugs. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In Third Person. You can find me on Twitch, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and I guess starting now, we're streaming PTCG Live. And last but not least, you can check out my website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Good night. Bye-bye.